Austin Powers, the International Man of Mystery, the first in the trilogy, and a fantastic comedy. Parodying both James Bond and 60s culture in general, Austin Powers stars Mike Myers as both the titular character of Austin Powers and the villain, Dr. Evil, of Elizabeth Hurley as Vanessa Kingston, Michael York as Basil Exposition, Mimi Rogers as Miss Kensington, Robert Wagner as Number 2, and Seth Green as Scott Evil. This is a fantastic comedy. This is hilarious. Maybe if you've never seen a James Bond movie, or if you're detached enough from the time that this was released, this won't hold up for you. I don't know how, kids born in 2010 are going to feel about this movie. But as someone who grew up in the 90s and who watched these movies from a very young age, this movie still is absolutely hilarious. Every joke lands. Mike Myers is still hilarious pretty much at every turn, and the spy genre spoofing that it does is great. I do enjoy the James Bond movies a bit. I'm not super into James Bond or anything, but I do enjoy them occasionally, and the mockery that this is making of them is a lot of fun. You don't need to have any real knowledge of James Bond to understand the jokes, but the more you know, I feel like the better the jokes do hit, which is what you want in this kind of parody movie. You shouldn't need to know everything about them going into the parody, because then who's this really for? But the more you know, the more the jokes become funny, and that's what you want to see in a parody. This movie also features Will Ferrell as Mustafa, and while in this movie his role is small, which it is in all of the movies, but in this particular one it's probably the smallest it is, and the least funny. His role is very funny, but it's the least funny. I just want to mention that he is in this movie because this character does reappear in every Austin Powers movie, and they do get funnier and funnier. In this instance, he's killed almost immediately, but this is a running joke, and I think it's worth mentioning him among the cast as well. Scott, played by Seth Green, in what I would say is probably his breakout role, is absolutely hilarious. He plays the dumb teenager who hates his father incredibly well. You can see how this role would transition into something like Chris from Family Guy. And the rest of the supporting cast is also doing a very good job playing their very stereotypical roles. Robert Wagner playing the Number 2 who turns on Dr. Evil. Michael York playing Basil, who's just there to explain everything that's happening. It all works in a very meta way that is incredibly fun and entertaining throughout the movie. I will say this is probably the worst of the trilogy. However, not in a way that's bad. When watching these movies, this is probably the one I watch the least, but that's just because, as funny as this is, they do just get better. The Spy Who Shagged Me and Goldmember elevate the comedy again and again, and that kind of leaves this one in a place where it's not my favorite of the trilogy. However, it's not bad by any stretch of the imagination. It is an absolutely hysterical movie. One of my favorite comedies that I can really just rewatch pretty much at any time, and it's always funny. No matter how many times I've seen this movie, it never fails to make me laugh. And I get that they're a little crude, a little juvenile, and honestly, if you didn't watch them when they came out, they may not hold up for you. But honestly, I think they are still just as funny. And this one in particular, if you've never seen an Austin Powers movie, watch this one. It introduces all of the concepts you're going to need to know for the next two, while also being just as funny in almost every way. I think the addition of new characters in the sequels is what makes the sequels so much better. Specifically, Mini-Me in the next movie is what really drives that to be such a better movie. But this movie is not bad for its lack of that. In fact, that is something that has to build off of this movie. So if you've never seen them, you do really need to watch this one. But they just get better as you go. So I do recommend watching the entire trilogy. Anyway, thanks for watching, and please go watch this movie. It is funny. This is like an incredibly popular movie. I can't imagine that most people haven't seen it. And I do try to avoid making too many movies that are just like the pop culture movie, but like, come on. It's Austin Powers. This is a classic for a reason. Absolutely go watch it. Anyway, thanks for watching. Bye.